Tonight on 2, renowned writer Dion van Zyl joins the Magalas team at 6. Wolfgang Reeder conjures up some magic in Abracadabra at 8. And Harrison Ford stars in the courtroom thriller Presumed Innocent at 9.
Welcome to Travel Explorer, the travel program that explores South Africa, discovering weekend and holiday adventures that everyone can enjoy.
Olivia is still up in Lekgalametse exploring the rugged terrain,
while Losha's on a journey back to our beginnings. In today's episode, we continue to explore the Lekgalametse in a four-wheel drive and take a look at the Big Five from a different angle, horseback.
And we take you to the cradle of humankind and revisit our country's checkered past.
Last time on Travel Explorer, we traveled the Lekgalametse, explored the hiking trail, and searched for picturesque picnic places where you can chill out with a cool swim. I'm here with Kunrad Null, a 4x4 expert, and he's going to take us for a drive and show us some of the stunning scenery. Now, Kunrad, I don't know much about 4x4ing, but what grade of trail are we going on?
Olivia, this road rates from 4 to 5, so you have to hang on.
Is that tough?
It's quite tough.
Excellent. Let's get going. Stunning. The 4x4 route takes us from the Makutsi chalets in the Lekgalametse through the reserve to the tar road near the Church Forest. I must say, driving a 4x4 is even more demanding than I thought it would be. The concentration was so intense, I didn't even get much of an opportunity to enjoy the scenery. But it was still fun. The change of scenery is dramatic, moving from dense indigenous forests and large rock formations that have been shaped by rivers over the millennia to high plains of rolling grasslands. If you have the time, you should try to absorb this special atmosphere. The end of the 4x4 trail brings you to this fairy tale woodland setting, appropriately called Church Forest. In the past, locals used to use the spectacular setting for every social event, church function, even children's Christmas Eve parties. To get here in an ordinary road vehicle, you have to drive to the end of the tarred road and continue on the dirt road. Another worthwhile drive for off-road vehicles is to carry on up the downs, if you see what I mean. When you get to the top, you reach the pioneer graves, where Ari Baragwanath, his wife, his son, and his business partner Frank Lewis chose to be buried. This road behind the downs is the original stone-packed road built by Jan Smuts as the only access to the Lowveld in the area. And just as I start to get used to traveling in a 4x4, it's time for me to move on, and it's time for you to join Losha.
Hi, I'm Losha, and I'm starting appropriately enough in the cradle of humankind. I'm in the Valley of Kromdraai, among some of the world's most famous sites containing the oldest relics of mankind. Today, I'm about to visit a geological marvel appropriately called the Wonder Cave, containing formations of rimstone pools, cave pools, stalagmites, and stalactites that have evolved over millions of years. This natural wonder has only been open to public since 1991, so if you're in the Gauteng area, it's well worth the visit. For those of you who suffer from claustrophobia, I've been assured, pathways are well lit and you don't have to crawl through any small tunnels. Also, competent guides conduct all tours, so you're not left in the dark as to what you're looking at. Neil.
How do you do?
Good.
Right, you ready to get scared?
As ready as can be. Apparently, the cave is one single enormous chamber, which you normally get to in an elevator. But Neil thought it might be fun to abseil in.
Myra, what I control you?
I must say, when Neil suggested this, I was a bit skeptical. But the view from this angle is stunning and the sensation amazing. We abseiled down, and that was fantastic. But for those of you who don't have the stomach, there's the lift. As Neil explains everything, I can't help but be in awe of the grandeur and beauty of it all. And it's all created so simply by tiny drops of water seeping through the rock, picking up mineral deposits and being frozen in time as they drip down into the cave to form stalactites, stalagmites, straw formations, cave pearls, and rim pools.
Mud is a filler. It's creating stuff like this. Those crystal rafts will start
But sadly,
going
it's all over too quickly, and it's time to go.
Surprise!
Having abseiled in, the journey back up in the lift seems like a bit of an anticlimax. Special package tours can be arranged for groups, and you can turn this into a full day's outing with visits to any of the nearby attractions. Well, I'm off to one of the first gold mines here on the reef. In fact, it's right here in Kromdraai Valley. See you there.
Up next on Travel Explorer, we'll be continuing our travels as we find out what life was like for the turn of the century miners.
Make way for the warriors. Enter the defenders of the crown. Bring on the Black Knights. Praise be to the High Priest. Bow to Her Majesty, the Queen. And all hail the King.
This month, SABC2 celebrates men. Real men are stylish. Real men know how to dress. Real men are always romantic.
Since you're light as a feather. Call 911!
Real men stay cool under pressure.
Call 911!
Real men know how to drive.
Watch it, bonehead.
Real men know their way around the kitchen. Real men are supportive.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Real men have all the answers.
I don't know. I don't either.
Real men don't have problems with sharing. Real men are in touch with their emotions. Real men anticipate the worst. And of course, real men watch SABC2 Home Theatre Saturday and Sunday at 9.
The route route from the Lechalametse takes us back through the little town of Afkalaku. Then a few kilometers up the R36, we turn left onto a gravel road to our next stop, the old gold mining town of Leitsdorp, that dozes in the blistering low-felt sun like a long-abandoned Hollywood Western movie set. In fact, this gold mining boomtown in the late 1800s, with its own outlaw who used to rob stagecoaches coming in and out of town, the town of Leitsdorp's history reads like a Hollywood Western script. And in the tradition of the Western Gold Rush, prospectors arrived and scratched around in the earth in a futile attempt to find that ever-elusive mother lode. Once the Sutherland gold mine opened, the population of this town exploded, and Leitsdorp became the administrative center for all the gold fields in this area, boasting a police station and a city hall. But as the town became more important, so more important people came to town. For a time, Paul Kruger was a regular visitor to this deceptively small house, using it as a stopover on his business and hunting trips. Having been painstakingly restored to its original former glory, it's hard to believe that up until a few months ago, you would have seen goats wandering around these rooms, sheltering from the noonday sun. And next door, this is where the mine commissioner would have lived. The same care and attention to detail has been given to its restoration. Water in this area has always been a scarce commodity, but in those days, even the houses were built to catch every drop of rain. This was done by incorporating a system of downpipes and runoffs into the house to channel the stormwater into vents that led to a cellar underneath. Sheltered from the heat of the day, the water was kept cool and fresh, and evaporation was kept to a minimum. After an invasion of miners to the area, a local hospital and nurses on hand 24/7 became essential. So this nurses' home was built next to the hospital. Like the other buildings, this too has been lovingly restored, but this time to accommodate guests, not nurses. And finally we come to the hospital itself. These are the ruins of the original hospital that was so small it became redundant the day it opened. With malaria rife, the beds started to fill with more fever sufferers than mining injuries, and it wasn't long before the hospital ran out of bed space. An urgent request for £1,000 was made to Paul Kruger, but only after 2 years did a meager 300 arrive. But this is what they did with it. In the past, many of the patients would have landed up here at the mortuary, just a short walk from the hospital. After a post-mortem on this slab, they were laid to rest here in this unkept graveyard, a reminder of the long-dead boomtown. Forgotten graves of men remembered only because they worked in long-forgotten mines. But thanks to former resident Narda Steyn, who returned with her adopted family, Leitsdorp is fast taking its place as one of South Africa's historical destinations to visit. Having lovingly restored these buildings in keeping with the period, Leitsdorp Lodge gives us an idea of the good old days. And with the help of Richard and Corrine, his wife, who's also a cordon bleu chef, visitors here are as well looked after as what we were. But there seems to have been a serious shortage of entertainment in Leitsdorp's heyday. Let's go see what the miners would have done on their night off. Believe it or not, this giant baobab about 5 kilometers out of town was a favorite haunt of the miners. Not exactly my idea of a night on the town, but being one of the only places to get a drink, it ranked high on their list of hotspots, even if it took them a bit of a hike to get here. Sadly, in some misguided attempt to attract tourists, the historical integrity of the site has been severely compromised, and the very life of the tree is in danger. The drinks were served from here, and everyone used to congregate under starry skies, drinking their favorite dop. which is all well and good on a warm, balmy night, but not so great when the heavens open up and the rain comes down. Since the ladder has been nailed to the tree, I might as well head up top just to have a look around. Meanwhile, Lorcia's looking for gold.
As I said earlier, I'm still in the same area, but this time at the Kromdraai mine. One of the reasons this mine is so special is that it's one of the first gold mines here on the reef. In fact, this mine is older than Johannesburg itself. Another reason this mine is so interesting is that when the mine finally closed in 1914, everything was left just as it was, so we get to see the conditions the miners had to work under in those days. A trip here includes a 30-minute underground tour and an interesting and informative talk about the history and geology of the mine. Once you finish the tour, you can visit the museum and art gallery. Apparently, there is still gold here in the mine, but it's uneconomical to dig out. My host and guide for today, Mr. Gavin Watley, who's the curator of the Kromdraai mine. Hi, Gavin. Nice to meet you. Mining is never an easy job, but working down here all day with only a gas lamp must have been a pretty and pleasant experience. Apparently, the only means of escape was through this tiny tunnel, which leads to another tunnel called the Winds, which runs at an angle between levels and acts as an air shaft. Imagine having to escape through that in the pitch black. For some reason, I imagined it would be uncomfortably warm down here, but the temperature stays at a constant 16 degrees Celsius. It was slightly eerie, yet fascinating to see the marks and letterings on the rocks made by men who were alive before Johannesburg was built. Mines like this created what has become the business mecca of South Africa, Johannesburg. Light! Thank you so much, so much. It was really nice to be here, and thank you for all the information you supplied us with. My next and final destination this week is in Joburg, where we take a look at South Africa's more recent and infamous past. See you in Joey's.
Travel Explorer continues as we saddle up in Big Five territory and meet up with Lorcia and Marianne, who reveal the importance of not forgetting as we look into South Africa's recent past.
En om je noot aan te geven, hier is je gasheer, Johan Stemmend.
Om ons 25ste seisoen te vier, bring ons die Noot vir Noot Roadshow na jou omgewing toe. Ons gaan die musiekfabriek daar hê, die stel, gaskunstenaars, en ons kom speel Noot vir Noot met jou in jou omgewing. Ja! Die Roadshow natuurlik, die verhoogweergawe van Noot vir Noot, groot pryse, kontantpryse wat gewen gaan word, die gehoor word die deelnemers. Hou die pers dop vir detail, ons sien vir jou by die Roadshow.
Started in 1896, and now, more than 100 years later, returning home on SABC2 from the 13th of August. We've come full circle, the 2004 Athens Olympic Games.
So far, we've covered the scenic beauty and some of the history of the Limpopo province. But no visit to this area would be complete without at least getting a glimpse of the Big Five. My next destination is the Wait a Little Safari Lodge on the edge of the Makutsi River, where you get to track the Big Five a little differently. Instead of traveling through the bush in the customary 4x4 vehicle, we turn back the clock and it is all done on horseback. But good riding skills and a reasonable level of fitness are needed for this type of safari. In keeping with the theme of this safari lodge, once you've checked in, you'll find your accommodation is also a little different to what you'd expect. It consists of individual, luxurious double-bedded safari tents on platforms, with a magnificent view over the Makutsi River. Once you've stored your bags, the preparations begin. The rest of the first day is spent being introduced to the safety procedures and getting to know your horse by going on an orientation ride. It's day 2 and time for the fun to begin. A day safari on horseback. So let's mount up and move out. As we head out of the ranch, the anticipation really starts to build. And once we're in the bush, you truly feel you're on the threshold of an adventure. Then Philip points to our first sighting, some hippos basking in the river. A little later, Philip spots some fresh elephant spoor and decides to follow it. Suddenly, there he is, looming in the bush next to us. For a moment, he looks as if he's going to leave us in peace, but he has other ideas, and Philip expertly frightens him off. Our next location is a little way off, and it takes an exhilarating ride to get us there, all adding to the sense of adventure. When we get there, we're not disappointed. But all too quickly, the morning's over, and it's time to go back. Wow, that was unbelievable. What can I say? After an eventful ride, there's nothing better than to relax. Immerse yourself, reflecting on all that nature has to offer. Back to the action, swapping exciting stories with experienced rangers and other interesting people here at the Rangers Pub. After that, you can either round off the day with a meal in the dining room or dine under the stars, safari style. On day 3, you pack your bags, mount up, and spend the next 4 days in search of the Big Five by ranging between 3 other camps dotted around the Karongwe Conservancy. Definitely my kind of holiday. Unfortunately, this is where I have to leave. But if you're not a horse person or prefer something a little less energetic, there are several alternative safari holidays in the area, such as the Ingwe Game Farm and Makutsi Safari Ranch, where you're almost certain to encounter some of the Big Five. But whether you're looking for a safari, a sightseeing trip, or just a break from the hurly-burly of the big city, the Limpopo province caters for all tastes and budgets. So from me, it's goodbye for now and over to Marianne and Lorsha, who will be delving into South Africa's past.
I'm here at Gold Reef City with Marianne, and yet the place we're about to visit is not about fun and games or winning the jackpot. An hour in this building will change your perception on race relations. This is the Apartheid Museum. Situated on the corner of Gold Reef and Northern Parkway Roads, you take the M1 South out of Johannesburg, then take the Boysons off-ramp and follow the signs to the museum.
The museum came about as part of the bid to build the Gold Reef City Casino 8 years ago. Already, this powerful museum has become one of the leading attractions for both international and South African visitors, as well as those who live locally. Hello again.
As well as showing the rise and fall of racism, this museum also highlights the triumph of the human spirit over adversities of the past.
The museum occupies roughly 6,000 square meters on a 7-hectare site recreated with natural felt and indigenous bush, containing a lake and pathways. Even the tickets indicate whether you're a white or a non-white. So with these reminders in our hands, let's go see what life was like back then.
After entering through the apartheid-appropriate entrances, you're immediately confronted with grim reminders of the past in the form of blown-up copies of things like racially tagged identity cards and the hated passbook.
The museum is designed in such a way that you are bombarded with every aspect of racial segregation, such as the seemingly endless list of laws that were created in order to separate South Africans on the basis of skin color, to the list of those who died in the struggle.
Then there's the 101 nooses dangling from a ceiling representing the political prisoners condemned to death and executed.
From the gruesome weapons used to enforce apartheid to prison cells and protest theatre, your sensibilities are not spared.
So that after a couple of hours of going room to room, you feel like you're back in the 70s and 80s, living in a township, dodging police bullets, tear gas canisters, and the dreaded yellow and blue Casper used to quell uprisings. I don't know about you, Marianne, but after that, I need to stop and think about what I just experienced.
You and me both.
Next week on Travel Explorer, Marianne takes to the skies, while I travel down to the coast and discover the marvels of the natural world. We get to explore the art of craft and crafty art of rock climbing, so be sure to make this trip with us.
All she said was,
"Yeah, the son's Scott. He's 16.
Unfortunately, she said it to both of them.
He's yours."
My son?
Yes.
I have a son.
Scott ran away 2 weeks ago.
Have you seen this